Hey everyone, back tuning into today's second video. We're doing CanSIP Saturday this afternoon. We're going to have a look at the long-range CanSIPs model, which is from Canada, of course, the Canadian seasonal model. We're going to have a look at that for the next 6 months. So we're going to go from October through to March with this. We could go on into next summer, we could go right up to next August, but we won't go that far out. I think 6 months worth of charts will be enough for this update. So we're going to have a look at the 500 millibar height anomalies. Actually, I think the sea level pressure anomalies. I'm used to saying 500 millibar heights, but I think on this particular model from website tropicaltidbits.com, you can find a link to Tropical Tidbits on the links page. I think for this particular model, it's actually sea level pressure that we look at. We'll also then have a look at the corresponding temperature and precipitation anomalies as well. So it's going to be a bit of fun. It's not to be relied upon, of course, going out 6 months with any model, as I explained with the CFS 6 months look ahead. Going out 6 months ahead is always fraught with danger, really. So it's only a bit of fun. Charts are there, we might as well look at them, but don't take it too seriously. Well, before I get on with that, just very quickly to mention the ads. GasOffice.com is commercial enterprise, so it's ads on all the pages, and if you click the links, you'll be able to go off and read the articles, and because you're going from GasOffice to where the articles are, we get a revenue fee on what you're doing, and thanks very much for doing that. So let's start off with the sea level pressure anomalies first, and then, as I say, we'll have a look at the corresponding temperature and precipitation anomalies. So for October, we're starting in October, we have a pretty westerly month being signalled here from the CanSIPs model. We've got a ridge, above average heights, high pressure sitting down to the south, and then we've got low pressure with these blue colours up to the north. Quite a strong jet stream coming across the Atlantic. So although the ridge is close to the south of England, this is a very westerly month being signalled here. I could easily envisage above average rainfall and maybe even some gale force winds at times. Of course, but most of the setting conditions are going to be in the north, where we've got all this low pressure, but it is a very westerly month being signalled there. Probably not too cold either. Now, as we move through into November, what we're going to see happening in November is that the trough sort of sinks down over the top of the country. So this is what we see for the sea level pressure anomaly in November, with these deep blue colours in right over the top of the country. It's a very, very unsettled month being signalled here. The jet stream coming right through the country and through into Europe like that. Very unsettled month, as I say. Showers or longer spells of rain will be very typical. Could be a really wet month, actually, with that trough right in over the top of the country. As we move through into December, it stays unsettled. What happens is that the trough goes a little bit further southwards and southeastwards again in December. So this time it's actually a little bit centred to the south of the country. We've got these red colours, above average height sitting up to the north. Deep trough going through the United States as well, so a pretty cold and unsettled month for them. And the jet stream could be doing something like that. So it could almost be going on to the cold side of the jet there. With a little bit of ridging through the central part of the Atlantic. I don't think it would be a classically cold month, but it could certainly be seasonable, and you could get some wintry potential at times from that one. So quite an interesting start to the winter there with that one. Moving through into January, the first month of 2016, we see the trough, if anything, is going even further south. So month by month, the trough is gradually being pushed further south with these blue colours. Now, this is showing an area of low pressure up to the north. Not quite sure about that, because we've also got the red colours up to the north. So it would actually imply that heights are probably above average. The scale here is on the side. I have a little bit of trouble interpreting these sea level pressure anomalies, to be honest. But I think, although it is showing low pressure there around Iceland, actually we've probably got above average heights or above average pressure as an anomaly seen to be up to the north, but there could still be low pressure within that. Of course, very difficult to explain. I'm probably not doing a very good job of explaining it, but I think probably we're seeing the jet stream trending further south anyway with time. We've got these blue colours coming through the Atlantic, and yeah, I think there is some sort of ridging up there to the north. So if anything, we're probably progressing to a colder pattern. as we get through into January. And then finally we move through into February, and what we see for this one is that the heights really do start to build up over Greenland, so the red colours are really in there over Greenland at that point. Low pressure is going to the south of the country. This does look like a cold month to me. I think we will be bringing in an easterly, maybe northeasterly flow there with that one, although we still have this low pressure being signalled just here to the northwest of Scotland. But the colours are really suggesting to me that, excuse me, we are getting high pressure building in the northern latitudes, forcing the jet stream southwards, and probably delivering us a cold month. We'll have a look at the temperature precipitation anomalies that go with this in a moment. For March, again, above average heights indicated by those red colours seem to be centred to the north, with these areas of low pressure through the central part of the Atlantic. The North Atlantic oscillation does look pretty negative there. So let's see how the temperatures stack up with this. Now for October, of course, we've got a very westerly month, so we are looking at a milder than average October on this model. A lot of the long-range models sort of hinting at quite a cool October. This one says no. It says actually probably going to have quite a mild month of it in October. As we move through into November, there's quite clearly a reduction in the temperatures, only down towards average, but clearly we've gone from a significantly milder signal in October to average temperatures in terms of the anomaly in November. So that does imply a colder month for November, albeit not a desperately cold month, if you see what I mean. But certainly a more seasonable feel to the weather as we get through into November compared to October. December continues with the average theme, pretty cool out in the Atlantic, but for us we're sort of near normal with those temperature anomalies. So again, no signal for anything desperately cold in November and December, but probably near normal temperatures will give us a seasonable feel at times. Now, January is very interesting. We are actually hinting at being near normal, or maybe even for the north, a little bit above average with the temperatures. But look how cold it is. Across many parts of Europe, a really cold January being signalled there for most of Europe. Of course, much warmer than average for Scandinavia. That's because we've got quite a bit of ridging going on up there, and also way to the north of the country was significantly warmer than average there. Anyway, getting back to us, it's sort of near normal temperatures, hinting at being a bit above average to the north, but significant cold is over the continent. And as we move through into February, well, then the cold gets in even to the UK, so a cold and average month there in February. Most of Europe colder than average as well. So this looks like a winter that gets progressively colder as we go along. It starts off sort of near normal for November and December, possibly into January as well, although the continent does look very cold in January. And then we get through to February, and we turn colder than average, and all of Europe is locked into the freezer as well. And we go through into March, and it's still a very cold scene across many parts of Europe. Temperature stage a little bit of a recovery for us, but only back towards average. And with so much cold on the continent, I think we'll be at risk in March, again, of seeing some of that cold coming through. So not a classically cold winter being signalled by the CAN6 model, but I think reading between the lines, particularly looking at how cold it gets on the continent from January through to March, we probably would be at risk of some fairly decent cold weather coming through at times. Find out a look at the precipitation that goes with this for October. I should say, getting ahead of myself, for October it's wetter than average in the north, near normal elsewhere. Remember, this is a westerly October being signalled with the jet stream coming through like that. I think it would probably even be a little bit wetter than that suggests down in the south. For November, a wetter than average month, quite obviously, in those green colours, so rainfall anomalies are coming out above average. You would expect, of course, but trough is right in over top of the country, so really quite a wet month being signalled there for November. For December, the rainfall and non-precipitation anomaly is closer to average. And of course, we're losing the intensity of the low pressure in December, going a little bit to the south country. Notice it's dry on average through the central Atlantic. That does imply ridging through that region. And when you get that happening, what tends to happen is that you have a ridge through the central Atlantic and the jet stream goes rather like that. So again, I think we would at very least be at risk of some wintry potential in December. We move through into January and signs of a proper negative North Atlantic oscillation setting up then. So that's why it turns so cold across the continent. We've got ridging in the Northern Atlantic, below average heights through the Central Atlantic. I suspect that could be a cold month, really, in January, although it shows the cold being kept over the continent. I think on that sort of Atlantic setup, we will be at risk of some significant cold weather in January. February, the pattern just gets more extreme in terms of the blocking sitting to the north and the west. So the yellow colours, the dry and average conditions are up there to the northwest, wetter than average through the south. It's a classic negative North Atlantic oscillation. We'd definitely be at risk of bringing in easterly, northeasterly winds. In terms of the precipitation, it is drier than average month, and that is nearly always the case in a cold than average month. So cold and dry, or warm and wet, tends to be the combinations that we get in winter. And then finally, we move through into March, and that negative NAO continues for March. The ridging again is all in the North Atlantic. We've got these yellow curves, dry and average conditions, with all of this low pressure running through the central part of the Atlantic, and the winds again coming from an easterly, northeasterly direction. The temperature will just show a bit of a recovery as we go through into March. I think it could easily, on that sort of setup, be another colder than average month. So, pretty interesting update there from the Canon SIPS model. I'm not sure how this model really verifies because I haven't been using it all that long, but it certainly looks like an interesting winter, one that gets progressively colder as we go through, and really from January through to March, you could envisage with how cold it gets on the continent and the general setup that's being indicated in the North Atlantic, you could envisage some significant cold spells throughout all of those months, really, from January through to March. And even November and December could have some wintry potential as well. So all in all, a very, very interesting update from Canon SIPS. We'll be looking at it again next month, of course. And as I always say of these long-range models, particularly when we're going out 6 months ahead, it's not to be relied upon, it's just for fun. The charts are there, so okay, let's use them, but don't take it too seriously. That's it for now, and we'll be doing the second update for the winter of 2015-2016 tomorrow morning, so come back for that. But that's all for now, and thanks for watching.